Greetings, Book fans! Michael here, and today I am very excited to announce the start of a brand new Pokemon Battling Draft League here on YouTube that I will be participating in, and therefore that means that the Houston Gastros are making a triumphant return. However, this Pokemon Battling Draft League isn't like most draft leagues, because instead of being a legitimate competition of competitive battling skill, there's not any skill at all, because every battle in the Metronome Battle Federation, or MBF, is a metronome battle. Week 1 battles start very soon, this upcoming Friday, April 13th, so get excited for those. Also, to celebrate the return of the Houston Gastros, I will be selling Houston Gastros merch. Gotta pick it up soon because it's not going to be around forever. Link is in the description below. Make sure you go pick some of that up as soon as you can. But that's kind of the TLDR for this. New league, Houston Gastros are back. Starts this Friday, metronome battles. But there are a lot more details that you should probably know about, so let's dive into those now. First off, many of you may be wondering what a Pokemon Battling Draft League is. Many of you probably know what it is because they've been around on YouTube for a while, but for those of you who don't, a draft league is a Pokemon Battling Draft League often set up like a professional sports season with weekly battles and then determining seeding for playoffs. The rules vary by league, but the big aspect of it is that at the beginning of the season, there is a draft. And that means that each competitor drafts Pokemon that they can use and no one else can use. I think it's a really interesting premise because it makes it so everybody's team is really unique and you have your squad that no one else has anything like it. Plus, it makes it so some lower tier Pokemon get some extra attention. It's a really cool premise, but it definitely has its downsides. I actually participated in a Pokemon Battling Draft League about 2.5 years ago, hence the creation of my team, the Houston Gastros, and that league was the GBA D League, kind of a minor league for the first ever Pokemon Battling Draft League, the GBA. And it sucked. There were 8 weeks of the regular season. I went 2-6, and one of those battles was a garbage time last week of the season when I was already eliminated from playoffs, so we were just messing around. So that was disappointing, because not only did I lose a lot, because my competitive knowledge wasn't as good as the other competitors, but I also... It's so time consuming, like having to build teams every single week, especially for me when I'm not an expert, was extremely difficult, and I didn't enjoy the experience, and after that I swore off ever participating in another draft league. But throughout those last couple years, I've been wanting to have a draft league at some point that could have the positive fun aspects of a draft league without the negative ones of being so time-consuming and competitive and requiring a lot of knowledge. So I created the MBF, a Pokemon Battling Draft League where the only strategy is who you draft and when you switch out your Pokemon during a battle. Because I wanted people who don't have as much competitive knowledge to have a way to participate in draft leagues. And metronome battles is the best way to do that because metronome battles are almost entirely luck. The league does have to be quite a bit smaller than other leagues because only Pokemon that can legally learn metronome at some point are allowed to be drafted. There are 38 Pokemon, fully evolved Pokemon, total that can learn metronome at some point, either by level up, by Generation 1 TM, or by Generation 3 Move Tutor. However, one of those 38 Pokemon is Mewtwo, which is obviously going to be banned because it's too OP, so that leaves 37 possible Pokemon that can be drafted. Now, since there are teams of 6 in Pokemon battles, that makes it so there are 6 teams with 6 Pokemon each participating in the MBF. Those teams are myself and the Houston Gastros, my lovely girlfriend Jubilee Blaze and the Tampa Bay Vanille Lightning, Pokemon and the New Orleans Pelipers, the Aura Guardian and the Nottingham Outlaws, Fufu 2 and the Mewcastle United, and HDV and the Noivern Caesars. These are really great people. I'm very excited to be in this league with them. All the links to their channels will be down in the description below, and if you like any of their team names more than my own, they're probably selling merch of their team stuff as well, so definitely go to their channels and check that out. Now let's discuss the rules of the league. I am going to go over them here, but if you want to reference them in just reading format, there is a fan Google Doc linked in the description below that will be updated throughout the season, so you can go there and view all the rules, the draft in its entirety, records for different teams, and all that stuff. But let's go over the rules for Season 1 of the MBF. The regular season is going to be round robin. Every single team will play every other team one time. That leads to a 5-week regular season since there are 6 teams. At the end of the regular season, every single team will make playoffs. Their record in the regular season determines their seeding, so the best record is the 1 seed, and the worst record is the 6 seed, and depending on the record, that ranks them all the way throughout. The first round of the playoffs is going to be the 3 seed playing the 6 seed, and the 4 seed playing the 5 seed, while the 1 and 2 seeds have first round byes. Also, when determining seeding, if there's any ties, like 2 teams have the exact same record, the tiebreakers depend on how many people are involved in the tie. If there's a 2-way tie, it goes by head-to-head matchups. Whoever won in the regular season, they get the higher seed. If it's a 3 or more way tie, the tie is broken by differential. A differential is how many Pokemon you have left or how many Pokemon your opponent has left when a battle is over. So if you win a battle and you have 4 Pokemon that didn't faint, you get it +4 to your differential, whereas your opponent gets a -4 differential that gets totaled over the entire season. But back to playoffs. After the 3 seed plays the 6 seed and the 4 seed plays the 5 seed, round 2 of the playoffs has the 1 seed playing the lowest remaining seed and the 2 seed playing the other one. Then, after those 2 battles, the winners of those advance to the finals, and the winner of that last battle is the overall winner for MBF Season 1. Now, there are specific rules to the battle that are in place to make sure that this is not too serious, it doesn't have too much strategy going into it, and that is just, you know, a lot of fun luck. For one, all Pokemon are required to hold a Lepa Berry. That's because even with PP Max, Metronome only has 16 PP, and we want to make sure that struggle doesn't happen too often in these battles. In battle, players are not allowed to switch out on consecutive turns, ignoring moves that force switching out like Volt Switch or Dragon Tail or Roar, stuff like that. Those don't count. But you're not allowed to switch and then immediately switch that Pokemon that you switched out back out, in. You know what I mean. This is to prevent a strategy that has been found to happen in Metronome leagues elsewhere, where people just PP stall. They just switch continuously over and over again in an effort to get the opponent Pokemon to waste all of its Metronome PP because it doesn't get any attacking moves. Players can choose the abilities for all of their Pokemon, limited by legality, of course. However, the ability has to remain the same for the entire season, because they get their Pokemon at the beginning, and then they use those same set of 6 Pokemon all season long. All Pokemon will have perfect 31 IVs across the board, or hyper trained in order to get them to have those same stats. They will have max EVs in HP and speed with the leftovers tossed into defense, and all Pokemon will have a neutral nature, except for my Celebi, because we had a lot of trouble making that legal without getting it to have a modest nature. So it has to have a modest nature in order to be legal, but everybody was fine with that. There was nothing we could do. These rules were put into place to make it so there was as much luck involved as possible, and there wasn't any time-consuming team building having to happen. You just have your set of 6, and you just hop into battle once a week, and just do the battle. That way you don't have to team build each week, and we wanted everybody to have uniform EV spreads. So that's why these rules are there. The draft has already taken place. We didn't think it would make sense to stream it because that'd be too difficult to get everybody all around at the same time. So we just did it over time, and this is the final draft board. The draft order was determined randomly, and it was also a snake draft, so because that's the most fair way to do it. So keep in mind it went Celebi, then Blissey, then Togekiss, then Dusk Noir, and then back across to the left, then back across to the right, and all the way down the board. If you want a longer look at that, just make sure you check out the fan doc that I mentioned, linked in the description below. But now, finally, I'm gonna go over and do a quick draft analysis of my personal team, and if you want to hear draft analyses for the other teams, make sure to go check out their channels. My round 1 pick was Celebi. It was the 5th overall pick, and it was the last mythical Pokemon left since Mew and Jirachi had already been taken. And while it's definitely the worst mythical just because of its typing, it has the most weaknesses, I still thought it was worth it because base 100 stats across the board is the best base stat total in the entire draft, so I figured passing it up would not be a good idea. I didn't nickname it because Celebi was definitely the toughest Pokemon to make legal. Like I said, we had to have it have a modest nature, and so it doesn't have a nickname, but it's still there. My second round pick was Dusknoir. Ghost type Pokemon are really good in Metronome battle format just due to how many normal and fighting type moves can be summoned by Metronome, especially self-destruct and explosion, because if the opponent blows themselves up and you take no damage as a result, that is awesome. And Dusknoir is definitely the best ghost type available in the draft because he's far and away the bulkiest. I made mine shiny because I liked the bluish color, and I named it Ghost Freak after the Ben 10 alien. My next pick was Alakazam. Alakazam is very frail, which was definitely a pretty sizable downside because bulky Pokemon are really important in Metronome battles because who knows how long it's going to be before you're going to get to attack. You got to be able to take a lot of hits, but I still decided Alakazam was a good pick because not only is it the fastest Pokemon in the draft, but it also has the Magic Guard ability, which prevents indirect damage, and since status conditions are pretty prevalent and also entry hazards are definitely a thing that could happen, I really liked making it so that he couldn't take indirect damage, because that's definitely helpful. Also, I named Alakazam Hawking after the late and great scientist Stephen Hawking. My next pick was Ursaring. I had wanted to take Magmortar, but HDV did take it, so Ursaring was my next best option. It's somewhat bulky-ish, but it also has really, really high attack, and combined with a Guts ability, since status conditions are, like I said, there's a pretty solid chance those are going to happen with Metronome. Guts is a very, very powerful ability with that high of an attack stat. Plus its normal typing is really good just because of ghost type moves, and also with how many normal type moves can be summoned by Metronome. It helps to have the, you know, the stab. So Ursaring was my next pick, and I named it Bosco after the Earth King's bear from Avatar: The Last Airbender. My next pick was Hitmonchan. It had the best bulk of any of the remaining Pokemon at that time because there were very few Pokemon left, so it was definitely a clear pick for me. And also, I really like having the Keen Eye ability because accuracy lowering in Metronome can be a freaking nightmare because you'll finally get to attack and then it'll miss. So definitely like not having its accuracy lowered, and I named it Ali after Muhammad Ali. And my final pick was Primeape. Primeape was easily the best Pokemon left in that final round pick. Keep in mind the remaining Pokemon were Primeape, Illumise, Volbeat, Minun, Plusle, and Spinda. Primeape has the highest base stat total of all of those by quite a bit, so that was definitely a good pick there. But also, its hidden ability Defiant is really helpful because stat lowering tends to happen quite a bit in Metronome battles, and every time it has a stat lowered, its attack is gonna go up, and that means it has the chance to do some massive, massive damage. So I'm hoping Primeape will put in the work. I named it Fine Swine because Primeape has raged like fine swine. But with that draft analysis complete, guys, that is going to be the end of this introduction to MBF Season 1 and the return of the Houston Gastros. I hope you are excited. I definitely am. Don't forget, Week 1 battles go live on this Friday, April 13th. Very lucky day to start the league, Friday the 13th and such. So I hope you're excited. They'll be live on all the channels on the same day, so make sure you check that out. Don't forget to pick up some Houston Gastros merch so you can support the best team, of course, and make sure you turn on notifications for the channel so you don't miss anything. All right, that's all I have for now, guys. So until next time, big fans, gotta catch them all.